We're diving deep into the top 3 rarest and most valuable UK Elizabeth coins ever discovered. Could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of pounds. Yes, the change sitting in your drawer or purse could hide a fortune. From rare minting errors to limited editions that slip through the cracks of history. Imagine finding an old shiny coin tucked away in your drawer, a simple 1971 era UK Elizabeth 5 new pence coin, and discovering that it could be worth not just a few pounds, but thousands, even hundreds of thousands, or possibly millions. Sounds impossible. Well, it's not. Because behind the familiar face of Queen Elizabeth II on this coin lies a world of hidden minting mysteries, shocking errors, and incredible collector demand that can turn an ordinary coin into a jaw-dropping treasure. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll never look at your old change the same way again. This coin carried enormous historical importance. It was part of a brand new system, representing modern Britain stepping into a new financial era, designed by Christopher Ironside. The reverse of the coin displayed the crown thistle, a national symbol of Scotland, surrounded by the words new pence and the denomination 5. The obverse, created by Arnold Machin, showed a graceful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II wearing a Great Britain and Ireland tiara. The coin was made of cupronickel, 75% copper, and 25% nickel, and measured 23.59 millimeters in diameter. Let's start with one of the most valuable and visually dramatic types, the wrong planchette error. In rare cases, a 5 new pence coin was accidentally struck on a metal blank intended for another denomination, such as the smaller threepence, or even a foreign coin blank. Because of their unusual metal composition, or incorrect size, these coins are instantly recognizable and highly sought after. Depending on the type of planchette, these can range from £1,000 to £15,000, and in some extraordinary verified cases, values can soar past £35,000. Another type of minting error that gets collectors excited is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank is not properly seated in the press, causing the design to be imprinted off-center. Some of these 1971 5 new pence coins show only half the Queen's portrait, or part of the thistle shifted to one side, creating a striking visual effect. The more extreme the off-center strike, especially if the date remains visible, the higher the value. These can range from £2,500 to £5,000, depending on condition and degree of misalignment. Then there's the double strike error, a fan favorite among collectors. In this case, the coin is struck twice or more, resulting in doubled images of the Queen's head, the crown, or the lettering new pence. These are incredibly rare and visually stunning. A sharply doubled 1971 5 new pence error can fetch anywhere from £2,000 to £10,000, and some in mint state condition could command even higher prices at auction. Another rare category involves metal composition errors. During the early years of decimal coinage, the Royal Mint occasionally tested alternative metals and blank suppliers. If a 1971 5 new pence was mistakenly struck on an experimental alloy, for example, a nickel-plated steel blank, or even a transitional metal used for later issues, it could be one of a kind. The value of such an off-metal strike could range anywhere from £70,000 to several £100,000, depending on the degree of rarity and authentication. In auctions across the UK, Europe, and even the US, collectors have paid staggering amounts for early decimal coin errors. A few 5 new pence errors from the early 1970s have already sold for £5,000 to £20,000, depending on the type and grade. Verified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, these coins become numismatic treasures that only grow in value over time. What if I told you that an ordinary-looking coin sitting in your change jar right now, a simple 1971 era UK Elizabeth II new pence coin, could secretly be worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of pounds? Sounds unbelievable, right? But this small copper coin, minted over 50 years ago, hides mysteries that even seasoned collectors are still uncovering. Some rare error versions of this coin have fetched jaw-dropping prices in auctions, and what's more fascinating is that you might already own one without even realizing it. To understand why this coin is so special, let's go back to where it all began, the year 1971, the year of decimalisation. Britain was making one of the biggest changes in its monetary system in over 1,000 years. The old pounds, shillings, and pence system was replaced by a simpler decimal currency. It was a historical moment, and the Royal Mint had the massive task of producing millions of new coins for circulation, including the brand new to new pence coin. One of the most famous and valuable types of error is the wrong planchette error. This happens when a coin is struck on a blank meant for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. In some rare cases, a 1971 to new pence has been found struck on the wrong metal blank, such as a 1 penny or even a blank intended for overseas coinage. These wrong planchette coins have been known to sell for £8,000 to £10,000, depending on the metal composition and overall condition. If a unique alloy or experimental strike is confirmed, the value can soar well above £50,000. Then there are the off-center strikes, another collector favorite. When the blank isn't properly aligned with the dies, the result is a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted dramatically. Imagine the Queen's portrait being cut off at the edge, or the denomination to push so far over it almost disappears. These striking errors make for visually stunning pieces, and the more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value. Pristine examples of off-center 1971 to new pence errors can easily fetch £1,000 to £5,000, and if the design is both clear and rare, potentially far more. One of the most exciting and scarce errors involves double strikes or multiple strikes. This happens when the coin is struck more than once before being ejected from the press, creating a doubled or ghost-like image. These coins are mesmerizing to look at. The Queen's profile appears twice, the lettering doubled, or the date 1971 repeated. Such coins are prized for their dramatic appearance and rarity. Collectors have paid between £2,000 and £10,000 for high-grade examples, especially when the doubling is strong and well-centered. Another type of collectible rarity involves die errors and filled dies. These happen when dirt, grease, or debris partially blocks the die during striking, causing missing or distorted parts of the design. For example, a 1971 to new pence might have parts of new pence missing or the Queen's hair details blurred. These subtle but fascinating minting mistakes can command values from £4,500 to £5,000, and in pristine condition, even higher. In recent years, the coin market has seen remarkable sales. Auction houses and online platforms have recorded several error 1971 to new pence coins selling for thousands of pounds. Collectors especially prize examples authenticated by major grading services like NGC or PCGS, which confirm the authenticity of mint errors. A verified error can see its value triple overnight. One especially interesting group of coins are the proof versions issued in 1971 mint sets. These were specially struck with mirror-like finishes for collectors. Occasionally, one or two of these proof coins exhibit striking errors, such as doubling, faint designs, or misaligned lettering. A proof error from this early decimal set can easily reach £10,000 to £30,000, and if combined with a wrong metal composition, could push beyond £60,000. The 1971 error UK Elizabeth I new penny coin. Imagine finding an ordinary brown coin in your old change jar could be worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of pounds. Sounds unbelievable, right? But the truth is, this humble little copper coin, often ignored or spent without a second thought, hides some of the most fascinating and valuable minting errors in British coin history. So don't blink, because by the end of this video, you might just want to check every single penny. The story of the 1971 one new penny begins during a major turning point in the United Kingdom's currency history, the Great Decimalisation. On February 15, 1971, the UK officially switched from the old pounds, shillings, and pence system to the simpler decimal currency we know today. This was a monumental event, not just for the economy, but for coin collectors. It was the year millions of brand new coins entered circulation, including the now iconic one new penny. One of the most sought after is the 1971 one new penny struck on the wrong planchette. In rare cases, coins were accidentally struck on leftover metal blanks meant for other denominations. Imagine a 1 penny struck on a 2 pence or even a foreign coin planchette that instantly makes it a numismatic gem. Because such mistakes are practically impossible to recreate, these coins are one of a kind. Depending on the type of planchette and condition, a wrong planchette error penny could easily fetch £1,000 to £10,000 or more if authenticated and in mint state. Then there are the off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank isn't perfectly aligned with the dies during minting. As a result, part of the design is missing or shifted dramatically to one side. Some off-center 1971 pennies show the Queen's portrait cut off or the denomination 1 missing entirely. These are dramatic errors that collectors adore for their visual appeal and rarity. High-grade off-center errors can command values between £3,000 and £5,000, especially if the design remains clear and sharply struck. Another fascinating variety is the double strike or die clash error. A double strike occurs when the coin receives more than one impression from the dies, creating a ghost-like duplication of the design. These are visually stunning. Imagine seeing two overlapping portraits of Queen Elizabeth II or doubled lettering on new penny. Such pieces can reach £6,000 to £8,000, depending on clarity and grade. Even more elusive are proof or uncirculated 1971 one new penny coins that somehow display error features. Proof coins are struck for collectors with highly polished dies, meaning quality control is strict, so any error that slips through is incredibly rare. A proof penny with an error could be worth tens of thousands, and if authenticated by major grading services, potentially over £50,000. Now, let's look at the collector market. Over the past 2 decades, interest in early decimal coinage has exploded. Coins from the 1970s that once seemed too common are now being re-evaluated, especially in top-grade conditions, or with mint errors. Collectors are paying record-breaking prices for unique error varieties, and the 1971 penny is no exception. In auctions across the UK, some error examples have fetched thousands of pounds, particularly those verified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Even coins in pristine condition, perfect luster, no scratches, full detail can sell for impressive amounts. A perfectly preserved 1971 one new penny graded MS68 or higher can bring in £2,000 to £4,000, depending on demand. And when such a coin also shows an error or variety, the value can easily multiply.